My name is Avery and I'm from Schreiber High School, and I chose the Rock, Paper, Scissors AI with the Raspberry Pi project for this program. Now, I chose this project because I wanted to learn more about machine learning and training your own model off of a set of images. To start off the program, it took 2 extra days for my Raspberry Pi to come in the mail, so for the first couple of days, I was just familiarizing myself with the Raspberry Pi system and Raspbian and relooking over some Python coding, which I would need to be doing for when my Raspberry Pi came in the mail. On Thursday, it finally came, and I was so excited. I set it up, I hooked it up to my monitor, and I started downloading the updates and all of the packages and libraries that I would need to complete my project. Some of the libraries were giving me issues, so we downloaded the newest version of Python, and still there were some issues, and finally my whole screen went black. And when I rebooted it, it came and it turned on. However, the entire screen, instead of having a desktop image in the background and options to go to a web browser, your terminal, etc., it was only a black screen and it had the terminal at the top. So we eventually had to just take out my SD card and reflash it. We reflashed it to the newest 32-bit OS for Raspbian, and we plugged it back into my Pi, and we started upgrading and downloading packages once again. Now, this one had the newest version of Python on it now, and some of the libraries and packages that I needed weren't compatible with the new version of Python because they were made a while ago and they just didn't transfer over. So we were having issues with that. And then finally we decided that TensorFlow was the most important part of the project. That was the most important thing I needed to download if I wanted it to work. So we started working on that. It originally didn't work, and then we found out it only works with the 64-bit OS, which I hadn't downloaded, and I had just reflashed my SD card, so we decided that it wouldn't have been smart to completely start over and reflash and have to do all of the updates again. So we decided to do TensorFlow Lite, which was able to work on my 32-bit OS, and then I started hooking up my Pi camera, and it worked at first. I took some pictures, and then it stopped auto-detecting my camera. And so I went into my sudo raspi config to look into the certain specific settings that I needed to set, and still it would not auto-detect, so I changed some of those settings, I rebooted my Pi, and then when I tried to boot it back up, it wouldn't turn on. It just gave me a black screen again, not even the terminal this time. So this happened today during our class, and my instructor just told me that I should move to Google Colab and start trying to look at the trained model and just code on there, even if it wouldn't be using the Raspberry Pi. So today I was able to accomplish that. I was able to get my Google Colab to take a picture, import that picture into the code, and my code was able to detect if it is a rock, a paper, or a scissors, and it's able to label that based on the model that I would have used if I was still on my Pi. So now instead of using Pi and using Raspbian and all that stuff, I'm using Python in Google Colab, and I'm still able to get the same base project finished, and that is what I completed today. So that was my demo. There's still some kinks to work out with perfecting the image detection. We think that the model is overfitting, which basically means that it was trained on a set of images that are too specific. So unless my hand is perfectly oriented, it's not going to pick up as a scissor or as a rock. But we got it to work a couple of times, and so this is my milestone 1. In the future, we're going to work on having the logic of the game actually work so it can decide whether I won or lost, and I'll have the computer either be able to play fair where it chooses randomly what move it wants to do, or it can cheat, which is what the original project would have done basically by tracking the movement of my hand. But I could train my model to cheat basically by choosing whatever outcome would beat whatever it sees my hand do, basically. And in the future, to apply this to something different, I have some ideas on training my own models on things such as looking at a pitcher's stance and their payoff and seeing if that ball is going to be high, low, or hit the target, or looking at possibly people falling to prevent elderly injuries by watching how they move and seeing if this person's going to fall or not. And those are just some ideas that I have. to continue on my project and learning about machine learning with Bluestamp.